You failed. Now what? Well, I'll give you the answer to that here towards the end of the video. So, you did everything that you were told. You followed the rules. You worked. You were uh, honest, trustworthy, punctual. You listened to all your teachers. You had this vision that by the time you were uh, over 50 or older, that your life would look totally different. You'd be possibly married. You'd have a big, beautiful home with a white picket fence. You'd have, a garage with a truck, maybe a camper, a couple of, side by sides or four wheelers. You'd have a pretty good collection of guns. You'd, whatever you had envisioned as success, um, I would be able to help my family financially if they were in need. Uh, but here you are. uh, and if you're like me, you look back over and you say, yeah, I tried everything, I did everything, um, but I didn't expect things to turn out this way. I have failed, more or less. Or at least, people may view you as an unsuccessful person. However, it tends to be looked at through the societal lens, if you will. It's a hard thing to deal with sometimes. I feel like I've talked about this in other videos where you feel like you've been misled or lied to, or you know you're at least disappointed in the fact that you feel like you didn't reach your own expectations anyways. And then you start looking into questioning the future, and where do you go from here, and that sort of stuff. And I would have to say that you didn't fail. That's the big answer. You didn't fail. I didn't fail. We made it, right? Seriously, think about it. If you've lived to be at least 50 years old, that's a pretty big accomplishment. You look at back in the 1800s, 1700s, 1800s, I mean, the life expectancy was only like 40 years old. I mean, if you made it past 40, it was really a spectacular feat, you know. Well, once you hit, 50 years old, you're half of a century old, right? That you've been here on this planet. That's a success just right there. It really is. I take a look at think of maybe schoolmates that you had, you know, family, friends, acquaintances, people you've known over the years that have tragically lost their life for a variety of circumstances, and think that you are here. You're still breathing air. You're still moving on. You're still taking on each day, and seeing what's down the road. And it's like, I'll admit that a lot of times I reflect on my self worth. I get down on myself and I'm like, what what's my purpose? How do I really contribute to society? How do I help my family? What worth do I have? You know, and I would say one of the biggest things for me that I've come to learn is to be an example, and what I mean by that is not your typical example, right? Where people look and go, "Oh, wow, I want to be like him per se because he's so successful and he's done so much in his life." But I want to be an example of, hey, you know, my dad, my brother, my friend, whoever's viewing me, he's been through three different divorces. He's had multiple back surgeries. He's lost his home in a fire. He's had so many uh, uh, failures, life's failures, that could have knocked him so far down in the dirt that he just didn't get back up. And he started sucking on a meth pipe, or he, you know, lost his mind and went insane and wound up in an institution or something. Not meaning that to sound unsympathetic. I know that's a tough road for a lot of folks, and but I want it to be more like, you know what, I keep saying dad because I look at it through the eyes of my children, so you have to forgive me, but I try to look at it like dad has been through a lot, and he still has words uh, of love, wisdom, encouragement, and guidance that he can give. See, I joke around all the time, and I tell my kids, I'm like, you know what? You could look at it this way. Oh, I could say I've been married, I've been divorced 3 times, right? So I suck at marriage and what have you. True, but I can also flip the script a little bit and say, since I've been through 3 divorces, I can give you some strong advice on how to avoid divorce, right? I can give you strong advice on how to avoid getting hooked on drugs, how to avoid hanging out with the wrong people, how to handle certain people, co-workers. I worked with at-risk youth for almost 12 years. Kids that were depressed, suicidal, had eating disorders, were had severe ADHD, things like that. And I learned all kinds of neat ways of dealing with those situations and everything. I've raised, helped raise my children. So when it comes to my grandchildren, I can offer a lot of guidance for my son if he needs it. I can give advice, or I can listen to what you know my son is going through, possibly as a father with his marriage, if there's anything he needs advice on, or whatever. So society may look at you one way, or you may even look at yourself and feel like you've failed at the game of life or whatever. But I would argue that we have not failed, because we're still here. And the biggest, see, I look back at my grandpa a lot, my dad too, but I look at my grandpa a lot because he was around more than my dad, just because my dad moved to another state, and he wasn't here. But my grandpa, I look back all the time. I'll have things pop in my head, and I'll remember certain things that he told me, you know? And so, I know that my advice and how I've had to deal with things, you know, on this planet, it's worth something. So, I'd like to hear from any of you if any of you have dealt with any of these issues, or do you feel like uh, society lied to you, or just give me some comments and some feedback. I'd really appreciate it. Maybe a thumbs up, and it would mean the world if you could subscribe. That would be awesome. So, yeah, everybody have a good day. I'm Brandon for Still Standing Somehow. Catch you on the flip side.